As Marianne and Evan danced slowly on the gleaming dance floor, a sense of calm began to settle over her. The music seemed to soften the edges of the day's harsh memories, the cold stares, the whispers, and Margaret Hart's relentless disapproval. For the first time since morning, Marianne felt that she could breathe without the weight of humiliation pressing on her chest. Evan smiled down at her. "Mom, do you remember when I was little and we used to dance in the kitchen?" he asked softly. Marianne laughed lightly, the sound warm and nostalgic. "How could I forget? You used to step on my toes every single time, but you never gave up." He chuckled. "And neither did you. You always laughed it off, even when it hurt." Marianne felt a lump in her throat. Those memories, simple and bittersweet, reminded her of how far they had come together. She had faced endless hardships, nights without sleep, and days of exhaustion. But every sacrifice had been worth it to raise Evan into the man he had become. The guests watched as mother and son swayed gently on the floor. Some were touched by the sight, others curious about the connection between the two. Marianne could sense a shift in the atmosphere. What had started as judgment and whispers was slowly turning into recognition and respect. As the song ended, Evan guided Marianne back to her seat. Vanessa joined them with a smile. "I just wanted to say thank you for everything you've done for Evan," she said sincerely. "I know I can't replace the love he has from you, but I want you to know I respect it, and you." Marianne nodded, touched by her words. "Thank you, Vanessa. That means a lot to me. He's my son, and I'll always love him." The night progressed with laughter, toasts, and heartfelt speeches. Evan's friends shared more memories of his childhood, painting a picture of a boy shaped by his mother's dedication and love. Marianne listened, her heart swelling with pride. Each story was a small victory over the morning's humiliation, a reminder that the world could see her truth if she allowed herself to stand tall. Yet Margaret Hart remained a looming presence, her sharp gaze never leaving Marianne. There was a quiet tension in the room whenever their eyes met. Marianne knew the woman was calculating, weighing every move, every word. But instead of fear or anger, Marianne felt a calm determination. She had survived the morning. She could survive anything Margaret could throw her way. Later, as the guests mingled and the music shifted to a livelier tune, Evan came back to Marianne. "Mom, there's something I want to do," he said, excitement in his eyes. "What is it?" Marianne asked, curious. "I want to honor you in front of everyone," he said. "They need to know who shaped the man standing here today. Will you let me do that?" Marianne's eyes welled up. "Of course," she whispered, touched by his thoughtfulness. Evan stood, clearing his throat to capture the attention of the guests. "Everyone," he began, "I want to say a few words about someone very important in my life, my mother, Marianne Lewis." A hush fell over the room. Marianne felt her stomach tighten, nervous but proud. "My mother," Evan continued, "is the strongest, most dedicated person I know. She raised me alone, through struggles I cannot even imagine. She worked tirelessly, sacrificed everything, and never once complained. Today, we celebrate my wedding. But I also want to celebrate her, a woman whose love, courage, and resilience shaped the man I am." Marianne felt tears streaming down her cheeks, her chest swelling with pride. Some guests looked stunned, others whispered in admiration. Margaret Hart's face tightened, her authority challenged. But no words escaped her. Evan reached out and took Marianne's hand. Mom, thank you for everything. I love you more than I can ever say, and I hope everyone here understands how amazing you are. The room erupted in applause. Some guests clapped sincerely, others hesitated, but the acknowledgement was undeniable. Marianne realized, in that moment, that no amount of judgment or cruelty could diminish the love between a mother and her child. Marianne's heart soared. She had faced humiliation, rejection, and whispers of judgment. But standing there, recognized and loved by her son, she felt a deep and unshakable sense of triumph. And for the first time that evening, she allowed herself to fully smile, fully feel the joy she had worked so hard to see in Evan's life. The applause slowly faded, but Marianne could still feel the warmth of it lingering in the room. For the first time since she had arrived, she felt truly seen. The stares of judgment and whispers of doubt that had haunted her that morning no longer mattered. In that moment, Evan had made it clear to everyone, and most importantly to herself, that she was invaluable, irreplaceable, and loved beyond measure. Marianne returned to her seat, a little shaky from the emotion of Evan's words, but stronger than she had felt all day. She glanced around at the guests, noticing that a few of them were now giving her nods of respect, some even offering kind smiles. It was a small victory, but it meant everything. Evan came back and sat beside her. Mom, he whispered, come with me for a little while. I want to show you something. Curious, Marianne followed him to a quieter corner of the hall. There, a small table had been set up with a photo display of Evan's childhood. There were pictures of him as a baby, with his first toys at school events, and little candid moments with Marianne. The final photo was of them together last Christmas, smiling and wrapped in a warm embrace. I wanted you to see this, Evan said softly. I wanted everyone to know that you're not just my mother. They're part of your story too. Marianne's eyes filled with tears. She hadn't expected anything like this. The display wasn't extravagant, but it was meaningful. It told the story of their life together, the love, the sacrifices, and the countless small moments that had shaped Evan into the man he was today. She touched the photos gently. Oh, Evan. This means the world to me, she whispered. You deserve it, Mom, Evan replied. I want the world to see the truth. Not the lies, not the judgment, not the whispers, just the truth. You are my mother, and you have given me everything. Marianne's heart swelled. She thought about the long nights, the jobs she had worked, the tears she had held back, and the constant worry that had defined so many years of her life. And here was Evan, acknowledging every bit of it in front of everyone. For the first time, it felt like justice, not in the sense of punishment, but in recognition, respect, and love. Just then, a few of the guests approached her, hesitant at first, but sincere. They complimented her strength, admired her dedication, and thanked her for raising such an incredible man. Marianne smiled through her tears, feeling a quiet joy she had almost forgotten existed. Even Margaret Hart seemed momentarily taken aback by the display. Her face betrayed surprise and, perhaps, the slightest hint of respect. She said nothing, but Marianne didn't care. She knew that she had won something far more important than social approval. She had been seen for who she truly was. The music shifted again, this time to an upbeat tune that invited everyone to dance. Marianne hesitated for a moment, glancing at Evan. "Dance with me?" he asked gently. She nodded, allowing him to take her hand. As they moved across the floor, Marianne felt the tension of the day slowly lift. The whispers, the judgment, and even the harsh treatment from the morning seemed distant now. With Evan by her side, she felt strong, proud, and loved. Other guests joined in, and soon the dance floor was filled with laughter and movement. Marianne found herself smiling freely, enjoying the moment without fear or shame. For the first time, she realized that despite all the challenges and humiliation, she had not lost her dignity. In fact, she had reclaimed it, stronger than ever. Evan leaned down and whispered, "Mom, you're my hero. Always have been, always will be." Marianne's eyes filled with tears again, this time from pure happiness. "And you're my joy, Evan. Always my joy." As they danced, Marianne thought about the journey that had brought them here, from the nights of struggle to the moments of fear, to now standing proudly at her son's wedding. She realized that no matter how cruel the world could be, the bond between a mother and her child was unbreakable. And in that moment, surrounded by music, laughter, and love, Marianne felt truly at peace. As the upbeat music continued to fill the hall, Marianne began to notice subtle shifts around her. Some of the guests who had whispered about her in the morning were now hesitant to do so. Their stares of judgment had softened into curiosity, and in a few cases, even admiration. It was a small change, but Marianne felt it. It was proof that truth and love could slowly overcome prejudice. Evan led her back to their table, and they sat down to catch their breath. He leaned close, his voice soft. "Mom, do you see that?" he asked, nodding toward a group of guests. Marianne followed his gaze. A few of Vanessa's friends were quietly chatting, and one of them, who had earlier sneered at her, was now giving a warm smile. Marianne felt a strange mix of relief and disbelief. Maybe they're finally seeing me differently, she thought. Vanessa approached their table with a tray of drinks. "Mom," she said sincerely, "I hope you're enjoying yourself now. You've handled everything today with such grace, and I admire that." Marianne felt a lump in her throat. "Thank you, Vanessa," she whispered. "It's been a long day, but your words mean a lot." Evan smiled, proud of both women. "I want you both to feel comfortable," he said. "Today isn't about judgment, it's about love, family, and celebration." As Marianne sipped her drink, she reflected on the morning. The humiliation, the whispers, the cold stares from Margaret Hart and her circle, they had all felt like they might crush her spirit. But through it all, she had stood her ground. She had fought for her place, for recognition, and for love. And now she realized that fight had not been in vain. The DJ changed the music again, this time to a slower, sentimental song. Couples paired off on the dance floor, swaying gently under the warm lights. Marianne noticed Evan standing in the middle of the floor, looking at her. "Dance with me again?" he asked, holding out his hand. Marianne smiled through her tears and took his hand. As they moved to the music, she felt a profound sense of connection, not just to her son, but to the entire journey they had shared. Every sacrifice, every sleepless night, every tear had led to this moment of recognition and love. For the first time that evening, Marianne allowed herself to let go completely. She laughed at Evan's playful twirls, joined in the joy of the celebration, and felt the tension of the day slip away. It wasn't gone entirely. She knew whispers and judgment might follow her home, but she had reclaimed her dignity. And that was something no one could take away. After the dance, Evan guided Marianne to a quieter corner. "Mom," he said softly, "I know today hasn't been perfect, but I want you to know how proud I am of you. You are my strength, my guide, and my hero. I hope one day you see yourself the way I see you." Marianne felt tears stream down her face, a mixture of exhaustion and deep joy. "Oh, Evan, you've always been my pride," she whispered. "I only ever wanted to give you the best I could." "You gave me more than anyone could," Evan said firmly. "And I want you to know that today, in front of everyone, you are seen, loved, and respected." Marianne's heart swelled. For hours, she had faced the sting of humiliation and the weight of judgment, but Evan's unwavering love had lifted her above it all. In that moment, she realized something profound. Dignity is not something others give, it's something you claim through courage, love, and resilience. As the night deepened, Marianne sat back, watching Evan and Vanessa celebrate with their friends and family. She felt a quiet joy, a sense of victory over the cruelty she had faced, and a deep, unshakable connection to her son. She had endured, she had survived, and she had reclaimed her place in the world. And that realization, more than any applause or recognition, filled her heart with a peace she had never known before. The evening had grown late, but the hall was still alive with celebration. Marianne sat back at her table, quietly observing the scene around her. The laughter, music, and chatter had become a comforting backdrop, masking the tension from earlier in the day. She sipped her drink slowly, feeling the warmth of the moment seep into her bones. Evan returned, a mischievous grin on his face. "Mom," he said, leaning down, "come with me. I want to show you something special." Curious, Marianne followed him to a small balcony overlooking the city lights. The night air was cool and refreshing, and the view took her breath away. From this height, the noise of the celebration seemed distant, and for a moment, she felt as though the entire world had paused for her and Evan alone. Evan turned to her, his expression soft but earnest. "Mom, I know today wasn't easy. It was supposed to be perfect, and I hate that it started with so much hurt. But I want you to know something, you are my hero. No one, not even Margaret Hart, can ever take that away." Marianne felt tears prick at her eyes. The weight of the day, the humiliation she had faced, and the whispers of judgment came rushing back, but this time Evan's words acted as a shield. She took a deep breath, feeling the cool night air fill her lungs, and nodded. "Thank you, Evan. That means everything to me." He smiled. "You've always given me everything. And tonight, I want to give you something too, a moment of peace. Away from the chaos, to remind you that none of this defines you. You are strong, brave, and loved." Marianne felt a warmth spread through her chest, a feeling she hadn't experienced in years. For a long time, she had carried the weight of shame and fear, worrying about how the world saw her. But standing here, with her son beside her, she realized that she had survived, and she had triumphed. They stood together in silence for a few moments, watching the twinkling city lights. Marianne felt a sense of calm she hadn't known all day. The humiliation, the whispers, the judgment, they were still there, lingering at the edges of her mind, but they no longer had the power to control her. Evan reached out and took her hand. "Mom," he said softly, "I want you to remember this moment. No matter what happens, no matter what anyone says, you are my mother, and I love you. You've given me everything, and that will always matter more than anything else in this world." Marianne squeezed his hand, her heart overflowing. And I love you, Evan. Always, she whispered. For the first time in hours, Marianne allowed herself to feel pure joy. The pain of the morning had not vanished, but it had been replaced by a profound sense of love and belonging. She realized that the world's judgment was fleeting, but the bond between her and Evan was eternal. As they returned to the hall, Marianne felt a renewed sense of strength. She moved with confidence, acknowledging guests who smiled at her and ignoring those who still whispered. She knew now that her worth was not determined by the opinions of strangers, but by the love she had given and received. Evan guided her to a table where Vanessa and a few close family members were gathered. "Mom, sit with us," he said warmly. "You deserve to be in the center of this celebration." Marianne smiled, finally feeling a sense of belonging. As she joined them, she realized that despite the morning's humiliation, the day had transformed into something beautiful. She had faced adversity, stood her ground, and been recognized for her love, courage, and sacrifices. And in that moment, Marianne understood something she had long forgotten. True strength is not about wealth, status, or appearances. It is about love, resilience, and the courage to stand tall even when the world tries to knock you down. As the music played and laughter filled the hall once more, Marianne sat back, taking it all in. She had survived the humiliation, reclaimed her dignity, and most importantly, stood proudly beside her son, the man she had raised with so much love and sacrifice. For Marianne, that realization was worth more than any applause, any praise, or any recognition from the world. She had found her peace, her strength, and her joy. The night deepened, and the hall's energy shifted from lively celebration to quiet, warm conversations. Marianne noticed that guests had started pairing off, sitting in small groups, sharing memories and laughter. The earlier tension that had gripped the room seemed to dissipate, replaced by a more relaxed, appreciative atmosphere. Even some of the guests who had whispered and judged her in the morning now approached with smiles, offering kind words or compliments about Evan. Marianne felt a mixture of relief and disbelief. Maybe they're finally seeing me for who I am, she thought. It was a small victory, but after the day she had endured, it meant everything. Evan returned, his face lighting up when he saw her. "Mom, I have one more thing I want to do tonight," he said, taking her hand. What is it?" Marianne asked, curious. "I want to have a little mother-son moment," Evan replied with a grin. "Just the two of us, away from all the noise." Marianne nodded and followed him to a quiet corner of the hall near the large windows. Outside, the city lights glittered like stars, reflecting off the glass and creating a magical backdrop. The hum of conversation inside was distant now, almost like a soft whisper. Evan turned to her, his eyes serious yet gentle. "Mom," he began, "today has been difficult. I know it wasn't supposed to start this way, and I hate that you had to feel humiliated. But I need you to know through everything you've been my rock, my guide, my hero." Marianne felt tears prick at the corners of her eyes. She remembered the morning vividly, the guards, the rejection, Margaret Hart's cruel words. The pain had felt unbearable then, but Evan's words now acted like a soothing balm. "I only ever wanted to protect you, Evan," she whispered. "I wanted you to have a life where you are loved and respected. I never wanted to cause you pain." Evan shook his head firmly. You never caused me pain, Mom. Not once. All those sacrifices, all the love, all the struggles, they made me who I am today. And today, standing here, I want to make sure you feel the love and respect you've always deserved. Marianne's chest tightened with emotion. She realized that Evan had grown into a man who understood the depth of her sacrifices, who valued her not for her status or appearance, but for her heart and courage. I'm proud of you, Evan, she said softly. Always. And I'm proud of you, Mom, he replied, his voice filled with warmth. You taught me what it means to be strong, to fight for what's right, and to love without condition. I hope you know how much I love you, and how much I admire you. Marianne felt tears spill down her cheeks. The day's humiliation, the judgment, and the whispers no longer had power over her. She had survived, she had stood tall, and she had been acknowledged by the person whose opinion mattered most, her son. They stood together for a few moments, simply holding hands, watching the city lights twinkle in the distance. The hum of celebration inside seemed far away now, almost like a gentle reminder that life continued beyond the pain of a single day. Marianne realized that she had reclaimed something far more important than status or approval. She had reclaimed her dignity, her strength, and her place in Evan's life, not as a guest, not as someone to be judged, but as his mother, his guide, and his hero. As they returned to the celebration, Marianne felt a renewed sense of confidence. She moved with grace, acknowledging those who offer kindness, smiling at the guests who had now come to respect her. She knew that Margaret Hart's whispers might continue, but they no longer frightened her. Her bond with Evan was unshakable, and that was all that mattered. Evan squeezed her hand gently. Mom, he said softly, you've earned every bit of joy today. Let's enjoy the rest of it together. Marianne nodded, feeling a warmth in her chest she hadn't felt in years. For the first time since morning, she truly believed she deserved this happiness. She had faced humiliation, endured judgment, and stood her ground. And now she could finally celebrate, not just her son's wedding, but the triumph of love, courage, and resilience. The music played on, the lights shimmered, and Marianne felt a sense of peace that would stay with her long after the night ended. She had survived, and she had emerged stronger, loved, and fully seen. The night wore on, and the wedding hall became quieter, the earlier clamor giving way to a warm, intimate glow. Marianne found herself seated at the table with Evan and Vanessa, watching the couple laugh as they recounted small playful moments from the day. For the first time, Marianne felt that sense of normalcy joy that wasn't overshadowed by judgment, whispers, or cruelty. Evan leaned toward her. Mom, do you want to take a walk outside for a bit? He asked. Just the two of us. Marianne nodded. She needed the calm, the cool night air, and a moment to reflect. Together, they stepped out onto a small garden terrace connected to the hall. The evening air was crisp, carrying the faint scent of flowers, and the city lights sparkled in the distance like scattered jewels. Mom, Evan began, his voice steady, I want you to know that today, despite everything, was perfect in the way that matters most. Not because of decorations or the fancy hall or even my wedding dress, but because I had you here with me. That's what made it real. Marianne felt her chest tighten. Perfect, she thought, remembering the humiliation, the guards, the whispers, and Margaret Hart's icy stare. And yet, Evan's words reminded her that perfection wasn't about appearances, it was about love, support, and truth. "You've grown into a remarkable man," she said softly, her voice trembling slightly. "And I couldn't be prouder." Evan smiled, eyes glistening. "I'm remarkable because of you, Mom. Every lesson, every sacrifice, every tear you held back, I carry all of it with me. And I want you to know, no one can ever diminish that. Not today, not tomorrow, not ever." Marianne's tears flowed freely now, but they were not tears of sadness, they were tears of release, of recognition, and of profound love. She had endured pain, humiliation, and judgment, yet here she was, standing strong beside the son she had raised. She realized that those who judged her were insignificant in comparison to the bond she shared with Evan. Evan took her hands in his, holding them tightly. "Mom, I know Margaret Hart and some of the guests tried to make today difficult for you. But look at you, you're here, standing tall, respected, and loved. That's something no one can ever take away." Marianne smiled through her tears, the words washing over her like a soothing balm. "You've given me strength too, Evan. I wouldn't have known it until today. But seeing you stand up for me, acknowledging everything I've done, it makes all the struggles worthwhile." They stood together in silence, letting the cool air calm their emotions. Marianne felt a deep sense of victory, not over Margaret Hart or the judgmental guests, but over the fear and doubt that had haunted her for so long. She had survived, and she had emerged stronger. After a few minutes, Evan led her back inside. The hall had quieted down even more, with only a few guests remaining, enjoying the last moments of the celebration. Marianne returned to the table and noticed Vanessa smiling warmly at her. "Mom," Vanessa said softly, "I hope you know how much I respect you now. I see everything you've done for Evan, and I want you to feel included always." Marianne reached out and took her hand. "Thank you, Vanessa. That means more than you can imagine." As the evening drew closer to its end, Marianne reflected on the day's journey. From the cruel rejection in the morning to Evan's heartfelt acknowledgement and the quiet moments of connection, she had been tested in ways she never expected. But she had endured, and she had reclaimed her dignity. Looking around the hall, Marianne felt a quiet contentment. The music, the soft laughter, and the glow of the lights all felt different now. They were no longer overshadowed by fear or judgment. They were infused with the joy of recognition, love, and the unbreakable bond between a mother and her child. Evan leaned close and whispered, "Mom, tonight, you've earned more than respect, you've earned peace. Remember this feeling. Remember it always." Marianne nodded, a serene smile spreading across her face. "I will, Evan, I will." And as the final guests began to leave, and the night settled into a gentle calm, Marianne knew that she had survived the storm. She had faced humiliation, judgment, and whispers of cruelty, and she had emerged not broken, but stronger, loved, and fully seen. For Marianne, that realization was the most beautiful gift of all, the knowledge that she had claimed her place in the world, her dignity intact, and her heart filled with the unshakable love of her son. The hall slowly emptied, and the music faded to a soft background hum. Marianne remained seated for a while, savoring the quiet moments after the chaos of the day. She watched as the staff cleared tables, gently folded napkins, and packed away the remaining decorations. The sparkle of the evening twinkling lights, flower arrangements, and the lavish cake still lingered. A reminder that even amid judgment and cruelty, beauty and joy could coexist. Evan came over, holding a small box in his hands. Mom, he said softly, I wanted you to have this. Marianne looked at him curiously as he handed over the box. She opened it to find a locket, delicate and elegant, with their initials engraved on the inside. Her hands trembled as she held it. It's beautiful, she whispered, tears welling up again. Evan smiled. I wanted you to have something to remember today, not the humiliation, not the whispers, not Margaret Hart, but the love, the strength, and the bond we share. You've earned it, Mom. You've endured so much, and I want you to always know how valued and loved you are. Marianne clutched the locket to her chest, overcome with emotion. For years, she had carried the weight of judgment, rejection, and hardship. But Evan's gift, his words, and his unwavering love reminded her that all of that could never touch the core of her worth. Thank you, Evan, she said softly, her voice trembling. I don't think I've ever felt this seen before. You've made everything right, even after all the pain today. Evan gently hugged her. Mom, you've always been my hero. Today, I wanted to make sure everyone else knew it too. Not because they need to, but because you deserve to be recognized. You've given me life, love, courage, everything. I just want the world to see what I see. Marianne rested her head against his shoulder, feeling the warmth of his embrace. The day had started with rejection and humiliation, but now it ended with recognition, love, and an unbreakable bond strengthened by hardship. After a while, they returned to the hall, where a few lingering guests were chatting softly. Marianne noticed some nods of respect, a few quiet compliments, and even Margaret Hart, standing stiffly by the doorway, looking on with a mixture of disbelief and grudging acknowledgement. Marianne met her gaze calmly. She no longer feared judgment. She no longer needed approval. She had stood strong, and that alone was victory enough. Evan guided her to the exit. Mom, let's step outside for a moment, he said. They walked through the softly lit pathway leading to the parking area. The night air was crisp, and the stars above seemed to sparkle just for them. Do you remember all those nights, Mom? Evan asked quietly. When you stayed up worrying about my future. When you worked 2 jobs, sometimes 3, just to make sure I had enough? You never let me see your pain, and yet you carried it all for me. Marianne smiled faintly, feeling both pride and sorrow. I only did what any mother would do, she said softly. No, Mom, Evan replied firmly. What you did. That takes courage, strength, and an unbreakable heart. I want you to know that all those sacrifices didn't go unnoticed. Not today, not ever. Marianne felt tears streaming down her cheeks, but they were tears of release. The humiliation of the morning, the judgment of guests, the cold presence of Margaret Hart, all of it felt distant now, replaced by the warmth of Evan's love and the acknowledgement she had longed for. Evan, she whispered, you've made me feel more proud and seen than I ever imagined possible. I'm so grateful. You don't need to thank me, Mom, he said, his eyes glistening. I'll spend the rest of my life making sure you know just how loved you are. Today was proof, but it's only the beginning. Marianne held on to him, feeling the strength, love, and unbreakable bond between them. She realized that life would still have challenges, whispers, and moments of judgment, but as long as she had Evan by her side, she could face anything with courage and grace. The night sky stretched endlessly above them, filled with stars that seemed to shine just a little brighter. Marianne knew that this moment, the acknowledgement, the love, the reclaimed dignity would stay with her forever. For the first time that evening, she truly felt at peace, truly felt victorious. She had survived humiliation, endured judgment, and emerged stronger, more loved and fully seen. And in that quiet moment, Marianne realized something she had always known deep in her heart. The love between a mother and her child was unstoppable, unbreakable, and eternal. The cool night air wrapped around Marianne as she stood beside Evan, looking out over the twinkling city lights. A gentle breeze ruffled her hair, and for the first time that evening, she felt free, truly free from the weight of the morning's humiliation. She breathed deeply, letting the tension seep out of her body, replaced by a warmth that came from love, acknowledgement, and the quiet power of survival. Evan noticed her expression and smiled. "Mom," he said softly, "you've carried so much all these years. But tonight, you can let it all rest. You've faced the worst of it, and you've come through stronger than ever." Marianne shook her head, tears glistening in her eyes. "It still hurts, Evan. Not everything will vanish in one night. The whispers, the judgment, it lingers." "I know," Evan replied, his voice steady. "And I can't erase what happened, but I can promise this: you will never face it alone. Not now, not ever. And you've proven something far more important than anything anyone said about you today. You are strong. You are brave. And you are loved." Marianne felt her heart swell. She realized that the morning's events, as cruel and humiliating as they had been, could not touch the bond she shared with her son. No harsh words, no cold stares, no societal expectations could diminish the love and respect she had earned. Evan took her hand and led her slowly along the terrace, their fingers intertwined. "Do you remember," he said softly, "how we used to sit here when I was a boy, just talking about life, dreams, and everything we feared?" Marianne smiled faintly. "I remember. You always had big dreams, and I had bigger worries." "And you still encouraged me," Evan said, his voice gentle but firm. "Even when you were scared. Even when the world seemed against us, you stay strong. That's why I'm standing here tonight, as your son, proud of who I am and grateful for who you are." Marianne squeezed his hand, overwhelmed by the depth of his words. For so long, she had questioned herself, doubted her worth, and wondered if she had done enough. But Evan's acknowledgement, his unwavering love, erased every shadow of doubt. She realized that being recognized by the person whose opinion mattered most, the child she had raised, was worth more than any approval from strangers or society. They paused near the railing, looking out over the city that shimmered like a sea of stars. Marianne felt a sense of calm settle in her chest. The humiliation, the whispers, and even Margaret Hart's judgment no longer had power over her. She had faced cruelty, stood her ground, and emerged stronger, loved, and fully seen. "I'm so proud of you, Evan," Marianne whispered, her voice trembling with emotion. "You've grown into such a compassionate, strong, and kind man. And I've never felt luckier than to be your mother." "You've given me everything," Evan said, listening. "Everything I am, everything I hope to be, is because of you. And tonight, I just wanted to make sure you felt that. That you knew without a doubt how incredible you are." Marianne felt tears streaming down her face, not from sadness, but from the overwhelming love and validation she had received. The day had been brutal, filled with humiliation and whispered judgments. But Evan's recognition had transformed it into something she would never forget. For the first time that evening, Marianne laughed softly, a sound of pure relief and joy. She realized that dignity was not something others could give or take away. It was something she had claimed through courage, love, and the unwavering bond with her son. Evan wrapped his arm around her shoulders as they stood together, gazing at the city lights. "Mom," he whispered, "no matter what comes next, you are my hero. And tonight, I hope you feel it not just from me, but from all the love you've earned in this world." Marianne rested her head on his shoulder, feeling safe, seen, and loved. The stars above seemed to shine brighter, mirroring the light that now filled her heart. She had survived the storm, reclaimed her dignity, and embraced the unbreakable love that bound her to her son. In that quiet, magical moment, Marianne realized something profound. The world could whisper, judge, and humiliate, but love, courage, and truth would always endure. And with Evan by her side, she could face anything. She held on to him tightly, allowing herself to fully feel the peace, the love, and the triumph she had earned. Tonight had started with pain and humiliation, but it was ending with recognition, gratitude, and the kind of joy that only comes from surviving and standing tall. For Marianne, that was worth more than any applause, any praise, or any validation from the outside world. She had faced cruelty and emerged victorious. She was seen. She was loved. And she was finally at peace. Marianne and Evan stood quietly on the terrace, the city lights flickering below them, reflecting in their eyes. For a long while, neither spoke. They simply held on to each other, savoring the calm that had eluded them all day. The sounds of laughter and music from the hall behind them felt distant, almost like a separate world. Marianne finally broke the silence. "Evan, I've spent so many years worrying about whether I was enough for you, whether I had done everything right. And today shook me. But now, standing here with you, I think I finally understand." Evan turned to her, his expression tender. "Understand what, Mom?" "That love isn't about approval from others," she said softly. "It's not about fitting into someone else's expectations or being accepted by people who judge you without knowing you. Love, true love, the kind that matters, comes from the heart. And I feel it from you, Evan. I always have." Evan's eyes glistened. "That's exactly right, Mom. And you've always shown me what real love looks like, selfless, unwavering, and brave. Today, we faced a lot of judgment, but none of it can erase the bond we share. That's ours, and is stronger than anything else in the world." Marianne felt tears streaming down her cheeks, a mix of relief, pride, and deep, enduring love. All the humiliation of the morning, the gars, the whispers, Margaret Hart's sharp words, seemed to dissolve in the glow of Evan's acknowledgement. The pain had not vanished completely, but it had been transformed into something powerful, resilience, recognition, and the quiet triumph of a mother's love being honored. Evan guided her to a bench under a small tree on the terrace. They sat together, hands entwined, watching the city stretch out below them. "Mom," Evan said quietly, "you've taught me so much more than I can ever put into words. Strength, compassion, courage. You've shown me how to face the world even when it's cruel. And I want you to know that nothing, absolutely nothing, will ever change how I feel about you. You're my mother, my guide, my hero. Marianne leaned against him, letting the weight of his words sink in. She realized that all the fear, doubt, and humiliation she had carried for years were no longer shackles. They were reminders of how much she had endured and overcome. She had faced a world that tried to belittle her, and she had emerged stronger, unbroken, and fully loved. For a moment, she let herself simply breathe. The city lights sparkled below, the night air was crisp and comforting, and Evan's presence beside her was a steady anchor. She felt a sense of peace she hadn't experienced in years. A profound understanding that no amount of judgment could ever diminish her worth. Evan, she whispered. You've made me feel more proud, more seen, and more loved than I ever imagined. I don't even know how to thank you for this. You don't have to, Mom, he said gently. This isn't about thanks. This is about truth. You've always been incredible, and I want you to know that I see you, I love you, and I will always stand by you. Marianne smiled through her tears. She realized that tonight she had been gifted something far more valuable than applause, wealth, or recognition from strangers. She had been given affirmation from the person who mattered most, her son, the soft hum of the city below, the gentle rustling of leaves in the breeze, and Evan's steady presence created a cocoon of warmth around her. Marianne felt the burden of the day lighten. She had endured humiliation, faced whispers of judgment, and confronted societal expectations. Yet she had not only survived, she had emerged victorious. As they sat together in silence, Marianne allowed herself to reflect on the journey that had brought them here, the long nights of worry, the years of sacrifice, the constant battle to provide, love, and protect. All of it had led to this moment of peace, recognition, and love. Evan leaned his head gently against hers. Mom, I want you to remember this feeling, he said softly. Remember that no matter what happens, you are strong, brave, and deeply loved. Always. Marianne closed her eyes, letting his words sink into her soul. She felt a profound sense of gratitude, not just for Evan, but for herself. For the courage to face humiliation, for the strength to endure judgment, and for the love that had carried her through it all. In that quiet moment, under the stars, Marianne knew something undeniable. The world's cruelty could never touch the love between a mother and her child. It could not diminish the sacrifices she had made, nor the strength she had earned. And as she sat there with Evan by her side, Marianne felt a quiet certainty settle in her heart. She had survived, she had reclaimed her dignity, and she had been fully seen and loved for who she truly was. For Marianne, that was the greatest victory of all, a triumph that no whisper, no judgment, and no humiliation could ever take away. Marianne and Evan remained on the terrace for a while longer, the quiet night surrounding them like a gentle embrace. The celebration inside the hall had nearly ended. Only a few guests lingered, chatting softly or gathering their belongings. The chaos and judgment of the day felt like a distant memory here, replaced by a sense of calm, reflection, and intimate connection. Evan spoke first, his voice gentle. Mom, I know today wasn't easy. You were humiliated this morning, and I can't imagine how painful that must have been. But I need you to know something: you handled it with more grace and strength than anyone could ever expect. Marianne shook her head slightly, a soft laugh escaping her lips. Grace, Evan? I was trembling inside. I felt every stare, every whisper. I thought I might crumble under the weight of it all. Asterisk, you didn't crumble, Evan replied firmly. You stood tall, even when it was hard. And that's what matters. The world might have tried to tear you down today, but you didn't let it. You reclaimed your dignity, your place, and your power. That's incredible. Asterisk, Marianne's heart swelled. She realized he was right. She had survived, and more than that, she had done so with resilience. The humiliation, the whispers, the cold judgment, they could not take away the love she had earned and the strength she had built. Asterisk, I always worried, Marianne admitted softly. I worried that people like Margaret Hart would always make you feel ashamed of me, that you'd think I wasn't good enough because of my circumstances. Asterisk, Evan shook his head, a gentle smile on his face. Mom, you were always more than good enough. You were everything I needed and more. And anyone who tried to diminish that, they were wrong. Today proved that. Today, everyone could see what I see every day. Your courage, your love, your heart. Asterisk, Marianne felt tears brimming in her eyes again. The day had been a roller coaster, starting with fear, shame, and embarrassment, and ending with recognition, love, and affirmation. And it was Evan who had turned the tide, showing her that she had always been seen, always been valued, and always been loved. Asterisk, they stood together in silence, hands intertwined, letting the cool night air soothe them. Marianne looked up at the stars above, realizing that this moment, the quiet, the peace, the affirmation was hers. She had earned it through years of sacrifice, struggle, and unwavering love for her son. Asterisk, you know, Evan, she said softly, I never imagined a day like today. I thought humiliation would haunt me forever, but instead, today has shown me something I hadn't fully believed, that love, truth, and courage can overcome even the harshest judgment. Asterisk, Evan nodded, squeezing her hand gently. Exactly, Mom, and I want you to carry that with you every day. No matter what the world says or does, you are strong, you are worthy, and you are deeply loved. Not just by me, but by everyone who truly matters in your life. Asterisk, Marianne smiled through her tears, feeling a profound sense of calm. The way she had carried for years, the fear of judgment, the shame imposed by others, was lifting. She realized that dignity and respect were not given by the world. They were claimed by living with courage, truth, and love. Asterisk. I understand now, Marianne said softly. I understand that I don't need approval from anyone else. I only needed to be seen by you, Evan, and today? Today I have been. Asterisk, you've always been seen by me, Mom, Evan replied gently. And now everyone else can see it too, whether they like it or not. You are my mother, my hero, and nothing can ever change that. Asterisk, Marianne leaned her head against Evan's shoulder, feeling the steady beat of his heart. She let herself fully embrace the moment, the quiet, the night air, the city lights below, and the unbreakable bond they shared. For hours she had felt shame and humiliation, but now those feelings had been replaced by triumph, love, and recognition. Asterisk, in the soft glow of the terrace lights, Marianne understood a truth she had long carried deep in her heart, but had often forgotten. No amount of judgment, cruelty, or humiliation could diminish the love between a mother and her child. That love was enduring, unshakable, and eternal. Asterisk, and in that moment, Marianne allowed herself to feel whole, seen, and truly victorious. Asterisk, Marianne and Evan remained on the terrace for several more minutes, simply breathing in the calm of the night. The city below twinkled like a blanket of stars, and the gentle hum of the remaining guests inside felt distant, almost like a lullaby. Marianne realized that for the first time that evening, she could simply exist without fear, without judgment, without the weight of humiliation pressing down on her. Evan turned to her with a soft smile. Mom, do you remember all those nights when you stayed up worrying about me? All the times you worked yourself to exhaustion to make sure I had what I needed. Marianne nodded, her eyes glistening. I remember. I never wanted you to feel any less than others, even if it meant I had to carry everything myself. You did more than that, Evan said firmly. You gave me strength, courage, and love in a way no one else could. And tonight, I wanted to make sure everyone saw that too. They may have judged, whispered, and even humiliated you. But none of that matters anymore. What matters is the truth, and the truth is that you are extraordinary. Marianne felt tears spill freely. She had spent so many years doubting herself, questioning whether her sacrifices were enough, whether her love was enough. But Evan's words cut through all that doubt like a beacon of light. She realized that validation had not come from the guests or society, it had come from the person whose opinion had always mattered most. Her son. Evan continued, his voice steady and filled with warmth. Mom, I know today was hard. But I hope you remember this. You are brave. You are resilient. You are the heart and soul of everything I am. And no one, not Margaret Hart, not the whispers, not the judgment, can ever take that away from you. Marianne squeezed his hand, feeling a strength she hadn't known she still carried. The humiliation of the morning, the rejection, the guards, the cruel words felt like a distant memory now, overshadowed by the overwhelming presence of love and recognition. I've spent so many years worrying about whether I was enough, Marianne whispered. Whether the world would see me for who I truly am. But tonight I feel seen. Truly seen. Evan smiled softly. That's because you are, Mom, and I want you to carry this feeling with you always. The world may try to judge, to shame, to humiliate, but you will always have the strength, courage, and love to rise above it. And I'll always be by your side. Marianne rested her head against his shoulder, closing her eyes as a sense of peace washed over her. She thought of all the struggles, all the sleepless nights, all the sacrifices she had made for Evan, and she realized that every hardship had been worth it. They had brought her to this moment, a moment of triumph, love, and unwavering recognition. The city lights shimmered below, and Marianne felt a quiet joy blossom in her heart. She knew that life would continue to present challenges, whispers of judgment, and moments of humiliation. But now, she also knew this. No external force could ever diminish the bond she shared with Evan or the love that had carried her through every trial. Evan rested his head gently against hers. Mom, I hope you remember this feeling, the calm, the peace, the knowledge that you are deeply loved and respected. You've earned it, and you deserve it. Marianne smiled through her tears. I will, Evan. I will never forget it. For the first time that evening, Marianne allowed herself to truly feel victorious. She had faced cruelty, endured judgment, and been humiliated, but she had survived. She had reclaimed her dignity, her strength, and her place in her son's life. And standing there, under the stars, with Evan by her side, Marianne knew something powerful and unshakable. She was seen, she was loved, and she had triumphed over the pain of the day. The night had begun with rejection and humiliation, but it was ending with affirmation, love, and the quiet, enduring power of a mother's courage. Marianne realized that this feeling, the peace, the recognition, the bond with her son was more valuable than anything the world could offer. And as they finally turned back toward the hall, Marianne carried with her a profound truth. She had survived, and in doing so, she had become stronger, braver, and more loved than she had ever imagined. As Marianne and Evan walked back into the hall, the atmosphere inside had shifted subtly. Most of the guests had left, and only a handful remained, lingering over soft music and last-minute goodbyes. The earlier tension that had dominated the room, the whispers, the stares, the subtle judgment was gone. Marianne noticed that the remaining guests treated her with quiet respect, as if they too had finally recognized the strength she carried within her. Evan guided her back to their table. "Mom, let's sit for a moment," he said. "I want to take in these final moments together." Marianne nodded, grateful for the pause. She felt lighter now, the weight of humiliation finally lifting. The locket Evan had given her earlier lay against her chest, a tangible reminder of the love, recognition, and affirmation she had received that night. She touched it gently, feeling the engraved initials, and a soft smile appeared on her lips. "Evan," she whispered, "I can't tell you how much today has meant to me. I've spent so long worrying about judgment, about being looked down upon, about being humiliated. But tonight you've given me something far greater than I could have imagined. The certainty that I am seen, I am valued, and I am loved." Evan smiled, his eyes glistening with emotion. "Mom, you've always been more than enough. Today was never about proving yourself to anyone else. It was about you being recognized by me, by the person who knows your heart the best. And that recognition, that's eternal." Marianne felt tears prick at her eyes again. The day had begun with rejection, humiliation, and doubt, but it had ended with affirmation, love, and victory. She realized that the judgment of strangers, Margaret Hart, the whispers, the cold stares could never take away what truly mattered, her bond with Evan and the sacrifices she had made to raise him. "I spent so many years questioning whether I did enough. Whether I was enough," Marianne said softly. "But standing here tonight, I feel proud. I feel strong. I feel whole." "That's exactly how you should feel, Mom," Evan replied, squeezing her hand gently. "You've faced hardship with courage, you've loved without reservation, and you've never let the world define you. Tonight proves what I've always known. You are extraordinary, and I am proud beyond words to be your son." Marianne rested her head on his shoulder, letting his words sink deep into her heart. The humiliation, the judgment, and the fear of the morning were no longer chains. They were reminders of how far she had come, of the strength she had cultivated, and of the unbreakable bond between her and Evan. Evan leaned closer. "Mom, I know the world can be cruel, but you've shown me that dignity, love, and courage always prevail. No one can diminish that, not today, not ever." Marianne nodded, a serene smile spreading across her face. She realized that she had spent years carrying the weight of judgment and shame, yet here she was stronger, recognized, and fully seen. The day's trials had not defeated her. They had revealed her resilience, her unwavering love, and the depth of her strength. As the last guests bid farewell and the staff began their final preparations to close the hall, Marianne felt a profound sense of calm. She had survived the morning's humiliation, endured the subtle judgments, and faced the harsh scrutiny of society. And now she had emerged victorious, loved, and acknowledged in the way that truly mattered. Evan stood beside her, placing a gentle hand on her shoulder. Mom, no matter what comes next, remember this: you are my hero. You've earned every bit of respect, every ounce of love, and every moment of joy that comes your way. And I will always remind you of that. Marianne felt warmth spread through her chest, a feeling she hadn't known in years. She realized that the world's cruelty could never touch the love between a mother and her child. That bond was unshakable, enduring, and eternal. For the first time in a long while, Marianne allowed herself to feel entirely at peace. She had survived humiliation, judgment, and whispers of cruelty. She had reclaimed her dignity and her place in her son's life. And she had been fully seen, fully loved, and fully recognized. The night had begun with shame and hardship, but it was ending with affirmation, love, and the quiet triumph of courage and resilience. Marianne understood something profound. The measure of a person's worth was not in the approval of strangers, but in the strength, love, and truth that they carried in their hearts. And as she sat there with Evan by her side, Marianne knew without a doubt that she had survived. She had triumphed, and she had finally been truly seen. The hall was nearly empty now, and Marianne and Evan lingered a little longer, savoring the calm after the day's emotional storms. The air was thick with a lingering sense of flowers and candles, the soft hum of the night settling over them. For the first time that evening, Marianne felt truly free from the fear and tension that had burdened her since the morning. Evan looked at her with a gentle smile. Mom, I know today was more than anyone should have to endure. Being humiliated in front of everyone. No mother should have to go through that. But you handled it with a grace I can't even put into words. Marianne shook her head, a soft laugh escaping her lips. Grace? Maybe, but I was terrified, Evan. My heart was pounding, my hands were shaking, and I felt every stare like a weight pressing down on me. I thought I might crumble. I didn't know if I could face them all. You did face them, Evan said firmly. You stood tall, even when it hurt. Even when it was unbearable. And that's what makes you extraordinary. Not just because you survived the humiliation, but because you refused to let it define you. You reclaimed your dignity, your strength, and your place in the world. That's something no one can ever take away from you. Marianne felt tears prick her eyes. The day had been a roller coaster. Shame in the morning. Whispers of judgment, the cold stare of Margaret Hart, and the tension of hundreds of eyes on her, but now in Evan's presence, she felt a release she hadn't known in years. You've always carried so much for me, Mom, Evan continued softly. Every sacrifice, every sleepless night, every worry you've hidden behind a smile. It has shaped me, strengthened me, and made me the man I am today. And tonight I wanted to make sure you knew that your love, courage, and sacrifices haven't gone unnoticed. Marianne's hands trembled as she held his. She had given everything she had for Evan, and yet hearing him acknowledge it so fully filled her with a profound sense of peace. Evan, I've always tried to do my best for you. Sometimes I worried it wasn't enough. Today, with everything that happened, I felt so small, so invisible. But your words, They've made me feel truly seen. Asterisk, that's because you are seen, Mom, Evan said, his voice soft but unwavering. And you always have been. Not just by me, but by the people who matter, even if they took time to recognize it. You've shown what it means to be strong, brave, and unselfish, and that's something no one can ever diminish. Asterisk Marianne felt a warm calm spread through her chest. The humiliation of the morning, the judgment, the whispers, they were no longer chains. They were simply moments that had tested her, and she had survived them all. She realized that her strength did not lie in the absence of hardship, but in how she faced it with love, courage, and dignity intact. Asterisk Evan gently squeezed her hand. Mom, I want you to remember this moment. Remember how strong you are, how much you're loved, and how proud I am to be your son. Let no one ever make you doubt your worth again. Asterisk Marianne leaned her head against his shoulder, taking a deep breath of the cool night air. She felt the nice peace settle over her like a protective blanket. The city lights glittered below, and she realized that for the first time that evening, she wasn't just surviving, she was thriving. Asterisk all the humiliation, the fear, the judgment, they had been transformed into proof of her resilience, love, and strength. She had faced the world's cruelty and had emerged not broken, but empowered, loved, and fully recognized. Asterisk, Evan, Marianne whispered, you've given me more than I ever could have hoped for. Tonight I feel whole, seen, loved, and I'll carry this feeling with me forever. Asterisk, that's exactly how you should feel, Mom, Evan replied, his voice filled with warmth. Because you've earned it. Every bit of it. Asterisk, they stayed together in silence for a few more moments, letting the calm and love between them soak in. Marianne realized that this night the trials, the pain, the ultimate recognition would be a memory she would cherish forever. She had faced humiliation and judgment head-on and had come through stronger, more confident, and deeply loved. Asterisk as they finally turned toward the exit, Marianne felt a profound sense of gratitude and quiet triumph. The world could still be cruel, whispers could still exist, and judgment could still arise, but she knew now that nothing could ever diminish the bond she shared with Evan or the strength she carried in her heart. Asterisk for Marianne. That was the true victory, the knowledge that she had survived, reclaimed her dignity, and been fully seen and loved for who she truly was. Asterisk. Asterisk Marianne and Evan stepped back into the quiet hall. The soft glow of the remaining lights reflected off the polished floors, casting long, warm shadows across the room. Most of the guests had already departed, leaving behind a calm, almost sacred silence. The music had faded to a gentle murmur, and the scent of flowers lingered in the air, a reminder of the day's beauty despite the chaos it had held. Asterisk Evan guided Marianne to a table near the center, their footsteps echoing softly. Mom, he said, let's sit for a few minutes. I want to make sure we remember this night together, not just for the hardships, but for everything we've overcome. Asterisk Marianne nodded, settling into her seat. She felt a deep sense of relief, almost like a heavy weight had been lifted from her shoulders. The fear and humiliation from earlier, the rejection, the stares, the whispers still lingered at the edges of her memory, but they no longer had power over her. Asterisk, I never thought I'd feel this way tonight, Marianne whispered. After everything, I thought I'd be filled with shame. But sitting here with you, Evan, I feel proud, strong, seen. Asterisk Evan reached across the table and took her hands in his. Mom, you are so much more than what anyone else thinks or says. Today, some people try to judge, to humiliate, to make you feel small, but you rose above it all. You didn't just survive, you reclaimed your dignity, your place, and your power. That's something no one can ever take away. Asterisk Marianne's eyes filled with tears. The roller coaster of the day, the early morning humiliation, the tense whispers, Margaret Hart's cold gaze had left her emotionally exhausted. Yet Evan's words brought her an unexpected clarity. She realized that she had endured not for recognition from the world, but for love, for Evan, for the family she had raised. And for herself. Asterisk, you've given me so much. Mom, Evan said, his voice steady and warm. Everything I am today is because of you. Your sacrifices, your courage, your love. They've shaped me in ways I can never fully express. Tonight, I wanted you to see that you've always been enough. More than enough. Asterisk Marianne felt a soft warmth spread through her chest. The moments of humiliation, the painful stares, the whispers, they were all fragments of a day that had tested her. But she had emerged stronger, loved, and fully recognized by the person whose opinion mattered most, her son. Asterisk. I've spent so long worrying about whether I was enough, Marianne whispered, her voice trembling. Whether I had done right by you. Tonight, I finally feel that I have. Asterisk. You have, Mom, Evan said gently, squeezing her hands. You've always been enough. And now, tonight, I hope you feel it with every fiber of your being. You are seen. You are loved. You are my hero. Asterisk Marianne leaned her head against his shoulder, letting the tears flow freely. They weren't tears of sadness. They were tears of relief, love, and recognition. She had faced humiliation and judgment, yet here she was, standing tall and embraced by the love of her son. Asterisk, for the first time that evening, she felt truly victorious. Not because the world had acknowledged her, but because she had been fully seen and loved for who she was. She had endured pain and cruelty, yet she had emerged with her dignity intact, her courage stronger than ever, and her heart filled with love. Asterisk Evan rested his head gently against hers. Mom, no matter what happens from this day forward, remember this feeling. Remember that nothing can take away your strength, your courage, or the love that surrounds you. You've earned every bit of it. Asterisk Marianne closed her eyes, letting the warmth of his words sink into her soul. The day had begun with rejection, whispers, and humiliation. But it was ending with affirmation, love, and the enduring power of a mother's strength. Asterisk, she realized something profound. No amount of judgment, no cruel word, no whispered criticism could ever diminish the bond she shared with her son. Nor could it erase the strength and love she had cultivated throughout her life. Asterisk, and in that quiet hall, with Evan by her side and the soft city lights beyond the windows, Marianne knew one undeniable truth. She had survived, she had triumphed, and she had finally been truly seen and loved for who she was. Asterisk, the hall was nearly empty now, and Marianne and Evan lingered a little longer, savoring the calm after the day's emotional storms. The air was thick with a lingering sense of flowers and candles, the soft hum of the night settling over them. For the first time that evening, Marianne felt truly free from the fear and tension that had burdened her since the morning. Asterisk Evan looked at her with a gentle smile. Mom, I know today was more than anyone should have to endure. Being humiliated in front of everyone. No mother should have to go through that. But you handled it with a grace I can't even put into words. Asterisk Marianne shook her head, a soft laugh escaping her lips. Grace? Maybe, but I was terrified, Evan. My heart was pounding, my hands were shaking, and I felt every stare like a weight pressing down on me. I thought I might crumble. I didn't know if I could face them all. Asterisk, you did face them, Evan said firmly. You stood tall, even when it hurt. Even when it was unbearable. And that's what makes you extraordinary. Not just because you survived the humiliation, but because you refused to let it define you. You reclaimed your dignity, your strength, and your place in the world. That's something no one can ever take away from you. Asterisk Marianne felt tears prick her eyes. The day had been a roller coaster. Shame in the morning. Whispers of judgment. The cold stare of Margaret Hart. And the tension of hundreds of eyes on her, but now in Evan's presence. She felt a release she hadn't known in years. Asterisk, you've always carried so much for me, Mom, Evan continued softly. Every sacrifice, every sleepless night, every worry you've hidden behind a smile. It has shaped me, strengthened me, and made me the man I am today. And tonight I wanted to make sure you knew that your love, courage, and sacrifices haven't gone unnoticed. Asterisk Marianne's hands trembled as she held his. She had given everything she had for Evan, and yet hearing him acknowledge it so fully filled her with a profound sense of peace. Evan, I've always tried to do my best for you. Sometimes I worried it wasn't enough. Today, with everything that happened, I felt so small, so invisible. But your words, they've made me feel truly seen. Asterisk, that's because you are seen, Mom, Evan said, his voice soft but unwavering. And you always have been. Not just by me, but by the people who matter, even if they took time to recognize it. You've shown what it means to be strong, brave, and unselfish, and that's something no one can ever diminish. Asterisk Marianne felt a warm calm spread through her chest. The humiliation of the morning, the judgment, the whispers, they were no longer chains. They were simply moments that had tested her, and she had survived them all. She realized that her strength did not lie in the absence of hardship, but in how she faced it with love, courage, and dignity intact. Asterisk Evan gently squeezed her hand. Mom, I want you to remember this moment. Remember how strong you are, how much you're loved, and how proud I am to be your son. Let no one ever make you doubt your worth again. Asterisk Marianne leaned her head against his shoulder, taking a deep breath of the cool night air. She felt the nice peace settle over her like a protective blanket. The city lights glittered below, and she realized that, for the first time that evening, she wasn't just surviving, she was thriving. Asterisk all the humiliation, the fear, the judgment, they had been transformed into proof of her resilience, love, and strength. She had faced the world's cruelty and had emerged not broken, but empowered, loved, and fully recognized. Asterisk, Evan, Marianne whispered, you've given me more than I ever could have hoped for. Tonight I feel whole, seen, loved, and I'll carry this feeling with me forever. Asterisk, that's exactly how you should feel, Mom, Evan replied, his voice filled with warmth. Because you've earned it. Every bit of it. Asterisk, they stayed together in silence for a few more moments, letting the calm and love between them soak in. Marianne realized that this night, the trials, the pain, the ultimate recognition would be a memory she would cherish forever. She had faced humiliation and judgment head-on and had come through stronger, more confident, and deeply loved. Asterisk as they finally turned toward the exit. Marianne felt a profound sense of gratitude and quiet triumph. The world could still be cruel, whispers could still exist, and judgment could still arise, but she knew now that nothing could ever diminish the bond she shared with Evan or the strength she carried in her heart. For Marianne, that was the true victory, the knowledge that she had survived, reclaimed her dignity, and been fully seen and loved for who she truly was.